Ahoy, my friends, Ryder here, and welcome back to another Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis video. Today, I am going to be showing you guys all the mechanics and overview of the new Ramuh EX fight. I will be showing you guys a PowerPoint of everything that you need to know in order to go into this fight, whether that is the EX1 or the EX2, but I will preface this and just let you guys know I have not been able to take down the EX2 yet. If I can, it is super on the line, but I will be beating the EX1 at the end of this video and showing you guys multiple teams that you can beat it with. That being said, let's jump over to the actual battle itself and check it out really quick before we jump into the PowerPoint. Alright, so we're going to jump over to the Ramuh fight right here, and I'm going to go into the EX1 version at the moment. So we will be fighting Ramuh. Unfortunately, it does not show his sparks that he summons in the fight periodically. I have my Leviathan's tidal wave at level 8 and not level 10, which in the EX1 is enough to take them down when you use it, even if only paired with one other limit break. However, in the EX2, it does look like you need Leviathan's tidal wave at level 10, which is pretty unfortunate. Now for Leviathan, or for Ramuh himself, his weakness is going to be water, resistance is lightning. For his immunities right here, we have poison, darkness, silence, stun, fatigue, and fog, but he is not immune at all to any physical or magic type break or physical defense or magic defense break. So we're going to be utilizing as much of that as we can in this fight, but I will say that you are going to need a dedicated magic attack breaker in this fight. You will need a character that can increase magic defense AoE for the team, like Red 13, Matt, Cloud, for example. But yeah, other than that, there's not much to say here. I wish they gave us more information on these fights, but this is basically all we're going to get. So that being said, let's jump over to the PowerPoint, and I'm going to give you guys the TLDR on everything you need to know. Alright guys, so here we are in the PowerPoint. I'm going to be covering both the Ramuh EX1/EX2 fights and basically giving you guys the gist of all the information you need because they are super similar. I will be posting a send or a complete of the EX2 when I get the chance to actually beat it, but for now I hope this gets you guys all the information that you more or less need in order to go into this fight. So the first thing right here that we want to look at is sigils. We are going to need Diamond, Circle, and X sigils in this fight, and the boosters are highly recommended. So essentially, you know, for your Imperiler, when you go into this, you're kind of deadlocked into Red 13 and Barret, because Barret has the Shark Slayer and Red 13 has the Silver Collar. They both have a 3 ATB cost Diamond Sigil break, which makes the whole fight a whole lot easier. I haven't done extended testing to see if it's possible, but you are going to need to take down 12 Diamond Sigils, 20 Circle Sigils, and I think it's 12 X sigils as well, which is a really good amount. So basically all three of your characters are going to be handling one of these things. Now, my DPS is most of the time going to be handling Circle Sigil, and they're going to be boosted. So whether that's Glenn with his Limit Break weapon or Cloud with the Maritime Sword, there's a couple different ways you can do, and whatever you're kind of lacking, you can give, you know, the other sigils that you need to a couple of your other characters, as you guys will see. So some things I want to note when you're going into either the EX1 or EX2 fight. Alright, so magic damage is going to be decreased. I don't know exactly why I put that here. Okay, so when you're going into this fight, Ramuh has a natural defense to magic attack damage. That's why I put this there. So essentially, characters like Tifa, who is using like magical damage water potency, are going to be less effective. Now, I did beat the EX1 with Tifa, Bunny Gloves at OB10, but you can definitely tell that the damage is suffering, and as of right now, I'm hard-pressed to believe that you can beat the EX2 with a magic DPS. Now, going on to number 2 right here, Ramuh will buff himself with water resist, physical defense up, a strong magic attack buff, lightning potency up as well. So Ramuh is going to be just basically decking the halls with all of the buffs that you can imagine. And it is very important, you know, if you're running a physical DPS, that you break his physical defense. You know, our Imperiler is going to break his water resistance, and so on and so forth. But there's not much we can do about the lightning potency up. The huge magic attack buff up he gets will need to be broken by a debuffer, depending on who you bring into the party. But there are a couple options there. So Ramuh can also debuff the team's lightning resistance, and this will hit a lot harder in EX2 in comparison to EX1, and I'll talk a little bit about that phase, which basically comes after the first sigil phase at the beginning of the match. But I'll tell you that the EX1 version of this phase is much, much easier than the EX2 version, where he will also break your magic defense on top of your lightning resistance. Now, that being said, number 4 here, lightning resist weapons are key. I have been running lightning resist weapons on all 3 of my characters. Even my DPS has to slot one just to survive, because the first judgment bolt can really hit pretty damn hard, especially in EX2. Now, onto the topic of the sparks. During the fight, Ramuh will summon 2 sparks next to him, and there's no real need to take them out right away, especially in EX1, because you can wait for Leviathan's tidal wave to take them out. However, in EX2, it is looking like you need Leviathan's tidal wave at level 10 in order to take them out. Now, I have done a bunch of fights on EX2 so far, and the thing is that my tidal wave is at level 8. I never end up taking out the sparks, and what happens is Ramuh essentially uses the sparks to feed his limit break bar. If his limit break bar or his lightning bar ever reaches max, he'll cast a judgment bolt on you, a pronouncement judgment bolt, which will basically wipe your entire team. Now, I'm not 100% sure if that's the case in EX1, but I am 100% sure that that is the case in EX2. So I will say that better err on the side of caution here, and make sure that you're constantly breaking down his lightning bar with water DPS. Now, number 6 here, magic attack break, magic defense AoE, and water imperil are all absolutely necessary in this fight. When you're going to build your team, you have to take these 3 things into consideration. Now, number 7, in terms of Guild War weapons, the Umbrella or Foam Sword OB7 for AoE magic defense up across for the team. You know, so either one is going to work fine. I think that both of these weapons will work great for this fight. You know, you can also take both of them to OB4 and slot both of them if you want. It's up to you guys how you want to do this, but I think the easiest way would be to take the Umbrella or Foam Sword to OB7, and then you can just slot it in the sub weapon, and you get up to magic defense to the team at level 3. Alright, so let's take a look at the next slide. Ramuh EX1/2 mechanics. Alright, so the fight layout. Pretty simple, guys. Ramuh repeats one main cycle 3 times before casting his final unsurvivable Judgment Bolt. The main cycle phase is going to consist of Judgment Bolt, which is what he's going to open with at the very beginning of the game. During this time, you're going to want to magic attack break him all the way to debuff high tier, and you're also going to make sure that you have a high tier magic defense AoE buff on your entire team. Alright, once you survive and tank his Judgment Bolt, he is going to go into his Sigil phase, which, like we covered, is going to be Diamond, Circle, and X. During the Sigil phase, I try to get at least 1 DPS hit off, because he is using the sparks at that point in time to raise his lightning bar up, and you want to make sure that it never hits the max cap. Number 3, after the Sigil phase, he's going to go into an AoE and single target lightning damage phase. Alright, this phase hits incrementally harder on EX2 than it does on EX1, because it also breaks your magic defense. Now, during this, essentially he's going to hit you with 2 to 3 AoE attacks that will break your lightning resistance, right? And then he's going to target the character with the highest current HP and use 3 more single target attacks on them to do as much damage as possible. Now, in EX1, this is definitely more survivable. EX2, I spent a lot of tries last night, basically staying up all night trying to figure out how to get through this, and I only got through it once or twice by the end of it. Alright? Yeah, so right here, EX2 note greatly reduces team magic defense on EX2. All right, but it does not reduce the magic defense on EX1. However, I will still be using Breath of the Earth on Aerith in the clear to show you guys how you can more or less get through that. All right, after you get through that part right there, you are going to have a good DPS window before this entire cycle repeats. It will repeat 3 times, and then he will go into his final pronouncement, Judgment Bolt. And if you cannot kill him by that point in time, he will wipe your entire team. All right, last PowerPoint right here. So here we have the Ramuh EX1/2 team and characters. So here are the recommended characters for DPS, healer / buffer, and imperiler / breaker, right? So we have as a DPS, Glenn, Cloud, and Tifa. However, I will make a note that Cloud and Tifa will both struggle on EX2. And as of right now, I'm not sure if it's possible for either of them to accomplish the DPS check in the EX2 fight in order to actually clear it. I've only seen Glenn clears. However, if you guys remember a certain player named Janelle, who I called out in one of my last videos, she just put up a clear using an OB7 Glenn Limit Break Draw Axe along with Slay the Day at OB6. The sub weapons are still pretty strong, but it is a really good showing that you do not need Glenn's LB Axe at OB10 in order to clear the EX2 fight. However, it is looking at this point like you do need Glenn, which is a bit, you know, of a bummer for a lot of players that don't really have him. I mean, I have Glenn's Axe, I think, at like OB4 or OB5, but that's nowhere near enough to clear the EX2. But I will be using Glenn today to clear the EX1. Now, in terms of healers and buffers, we have Aerith and Matt right here. I haven't really tried it with anyone else. Aerith is better for running a physical attack DPS, obviously, for the Kameruda Wand, which raises physical attack up for the party, along with magic defense. If you have, you know, if you're trying to run Tifa, I think that you could run Matt instead, and then just try to figure out where to get the extra DPS, you know, as you go. And last but not least, for our Imperilers and Breakers, we have Barret and Red 13, though I will say that Red 13 is slightly better just for his Limit Break Stardust Ray, which can basically completely get rid of all the stacks of magic attack up on the boss, and then he can go into Frenzied Fang and break magic attack, which makes it a lot easier with ATB consumption to actually break that magic attack down, especially in the EX2 fight, guys. All right, now that being said, I'm going to jump back into the game. I'm going to show you guys some teams, all of which I've beaten EX1 with, none of which I've beaten EX2 with, and then I'm going to get in and show you guys a clear on EX1. All right, let's get into it. All right, guys, so here we are back in the game, and I'm going to show you guys several teams that I have actually taken down the EX1 fight with. So depending on what you guys have, you might have, you know, one of these teams or the other, but they all work. So right here we have Tifa as the main water DPS, Matt as our healer and magic defense buffer, and then Barret as our diamond sigil breaker, imperiler, and magic attack breaker right here. All of them are running lightning resistance gear in the back end, but since I'm going to show you guys several teams, I'm not going to actually go through all the stats on each of them. If you do have any questions, just hit me up in the comments and I'm happy to answer them. All right, so this is the second team that I was able to beat it with. It is Cloud, Matt, and Barret. Very similar, basically just swapping out Cloud for Tifa right here. If you guys have a stronger Maritime Sword as opposed to Tifa's Bunny Gloves, just keep in mind that Tifa is going to do less damage in this fight. The third team that I was able to take this out with is this one right here, with Cloud at the Maritime Sword and the Maritime Costume, Aerith with the Kameruda Wand and Fairy Tail, and Barret with the exact same setup as before. But the team that I will be basically beating this today with is going to be this one right here, with Glenn running the OB4 Axe along with Ultimatic right here in the second slot. So I don't have Slay the Day at all. So there's not much here. Aerith is going to be super clutch in this fight for the attack up for the party, and Red 13 here for the Stardust Ray. We have the Silver Collar and the Frenzied Fang. Now for the team that I'm actually trying to clear EX2 with, it is this one right here, Cloud, Aerith, and Red 13. Now it is definitely going to be tough with Cloud. If I had some stronger sub-weapons, maybe, but I'm not really breaking more than 5,500 physical attack, and I think that you're definitely going to need it. On top of the fact that my Leviathan's Tidal Wave is only level 8, you know, in EX1 I can clear the sparks, but in EX2 I don't clear them, and that it's so much harder to keep his lightning bar from going up. So that being said, let's take a look real quick at the team I'll be clearing EX1 with today. Alright, so here we have Glenn running his Water Arcanum, Leviathan Tidal Wave, Limit Break Draw Axe at OB4, Ultimatic at OB9. Basically, Circle Sigil right here. So like I said, Circle Sigils, you're going to have to break 20. So it's good to have a Circle Sigil break weapon right here, or a booster. So I have the Circle Sigil. The rest of them are physical attack stat sticks. For Aerith over here, Comrade Dress right here. We have Breath of the Earth. You could also run Healing Wind on EX1, but on EX2, you're definitely going to want the Breath of the Earth for the phase after the Sigil break, where Ramuh will lower the team's magic defense. Now I'm running the Comrade Wand right here, Fairy Tail at OB10. I've got 2 Curas right here slotted, and Aerith is going to be in charge of taking out the X sigils during the phase. So as you can see, I have Circle here on Glenn, X here on Aerith, and Diamond here on Red 13, which is going to perfectly cover everything that I need during that Sigil break. Now for Red 13, you can honestly run him a couple different costumes. I just chose this for the HP right here. And so I am going to be running his Hellhound costume, Stardust Ray, Silver Collar here at OB2, level 100, and the Frenzied Fang here. It is important to have a weapon that can break magic attack to high in a single hit, so just keep that in mind when you guys are going for your builds, whether you're going for Red 13 or Barret. Now for Red 13 here, I do have him stacked with magic defense as much as possible. I have the Cura here for the AoE slot from Silver Collar, and then basically just HP and magic defense stat sticks on the rest of his materia. To quickly go over each of the individual builds, we have Glenn at 156k power, 9.5k HP, 5.7k physical attack, 121 physical defense, and 128 magic defense. His R abilities are going to be HP at 2, physical attack at 7, attack at 4, water potency at 7. We have lightning resist at 3, which is super important, physical ability potency at 3, and then for the team we have magic defense to all allies 2, magic defense to all allies 2, physical attack to all allies 4, and physical attack to all allies 3. His sub-weapons are going to include the Leviathan Buster at OB10, we're going to have Zack's Black Whiskers at OB10, and we're also going to have the Maritime Sword here at OB10, but basically just put 1 lightning resist gear. This one I recommend for Glenn because he needs the HP, and then just the strongest physical attack water potency weapons that you can muster. Now going over to Aerith, she's sitting at 114k power, 12.8k HP. She's got 115 physical defense, 139 magic defense, and 3.3k healing. For her R ability, she's got HP at 5, heal at 8, lightning resist at 4, and buff debuff extension here at 5, plus the Arcanum on buff debuff extension as well. For the sub-weapons, we have Centipede at OB10, we have Prime Number here at OB8 for the healing and lightning resist, and then I have the Umbrella for the lightning resist and magic defense all allies. I have the Umbrella at OB4 right here because I also got the Foam Sword, which I got to OB4. In retrospect, I should have got 1 and pushed it to OB7, but I didn't have enough guild weapon medals, and so essentially I just figured I would go for both of them. But if you do have 700 medals, which I think is what you need for one of them to OB7, I do recommend just getting 1. That's going to push you to magic defense AoE 3 for the team. Now, for Red 13, he's sitting at 83k power, 11.6k HP. He's got 178 magic defense and almost 2.4k healing. For his R abilities, HP at 4, we've got healing at 5, we've got lightning resist at 4, buff debuff extension at 2, and then we have all the R abilities for the party right here. His sub-weapons are going to include Nameless for the HP lightning resistance right here. We have the Foam Sword right here at OB4 for the lightning resist, magic defense all allies, and then I have the OB8 Stream Saber here for the physical attack to all allies to try and boost Glenn's potency as much as possible. Alright guys, so that being said, I'm just going to get into this fight. Alright guys, here we are going into the Ramuh EX1 fight. Now at the beginning of this fight, he is going to start casting his first Judgment Bolt. I'm going to wait till 4 ATB with Red 13, switch to Glenn, do 1 attack, then go over to Aerith and wait all the way to max ATB to cast my first Spiritual Harmony here. Then I'm going to jump back to Red 13, switch to Frenzied Fang, continue the DPS with Glenn the entire time, and then do the exact same thing with Aerith once again. Then we're going to let the ATB fully charge, cast Spiritual Harmony again, second Frenzied Fang for the magic attack break, one more attack from Glenn, and we should just barely get it right at the end there. So 1 Imperil, 2 magic attack breaks right there, 2 spiritual harmonies, and Glenn will just attack the entire time. Once this is through, we're going to wait for Aerith to cast Kiraga, and we're going to go straight into the first Sigil break here. Alright, so with Red 13, I'm going to double cast Rolling Claw, then switch to Glenn. Alright, and we're going to use 1 Flooding Stream on Glenn right here. After that, we're basically going to be focusing purely on Sigil breaks right here. So I'll switch over to Glenn since Circle is the one that most needs to get taken care of. Alright, and Aerith and Red 13 will take care of the rest along the way. Alright, here we go. As soon as we break this, I'm going to jump to Aerith, Spiritual Harmony, back to Glenn, Flooding Stream, over to Red 13. Alright, make sure that the Water Imperil is max and you have attack up. Alright, then right when he starts to cast here, I'm going to interrupt him with Stardust Ray and Tidal Wave, which will do a sizable chunk of damage while also taking out the sparks. Alright, this is the exact same strategy for the EX2 right here, while you're saving the Breath of the Earth for the next part coming right now, which I'll show you guys how to do it. Okay, so once you're through there, alright, I'm going to jump over to Aerith. She's going to block this next hit. Alright, and then also block this next one right there. Then counter with Breath of the Earth. If you're on EX2, this Breath of the Earth is going to heal the magic defense break that you just took from those 2 attacks. Immediately use Spiritual Harmony, check that the Imperil is good, and just basically go to town on the water damage from Glenn. Alright, so we're just focusing on Glenn here. Here comes some single target damaging attacks, but none of them are too crazy. I'm just going to try and focus and do as much damage as possible right here with Glenn. Alright, so the Water Imperil is fading. I'm going to make sure that I keep that on there. Alright, there we go. Jump back over to Glenn. And then we're going to get a couple pretty good hits right here. Thunder Lance is going to single target a character. It is going to be Red 13. So I'm going to make sure that we have the magic attack break and the magic defense up. I forgot to switch. I think I just might have barely switched to defense on time right there, but it was really close, guys. Let's see if I got it. No, I did not get it, unfortunately. But we are going to counter that with Aerith's heal, while just still rolling back into the damage with Glenn as much as possible. Alright, so here's going to charge his sigil, or his little guys right there, his sparks. Alright, and here's the second sigil phase right here. We're basically just kind of focusing on the exact same thing. I did 1 DPS attack with Glenn. Alright, and then we're just going to be basically using Ruin Reblow the whole time. Okay, here we go. Alright, we just need to get one more. I just want to keep an eye on the physical attack buff and the Imperil here. Alright, so we're going to Imperil once, make sure we get that physical attack buff up. Alright, and we're going to do as much damage right here as we can with Glenn. We should get off 2 attacks or so. Alright, there we go. And we are going to interrupt his next attack. Same thing we did last time, Stardust Ray into Tidal Wave right here. Alright. Okay, perfect. We will jump over to Aerith here in a second. She will block this next hit. Okay, and also this one right here, which we will counter with Breath of the Earth. Alright, then he's going to target the person with the highest current HP. Alright, and he's going to start doing some single target attacks. Wait for the attack buff up on Glenn. Alright, and try and get as much damage in as you can. So I'm going to wait for that Imperil to drop. Alright, then make sure we get it back up to high as soon as we can. Alright, we'll get off a heal on Aerith right here, while just focusing as much damage as possible, guys. Alright. So trying to get my Leviathan charged one more time if possible here. But essentially just keeping an eye on the Imperil, making sure his magic attack broken as much as we can, guys. Alright, and just focusing damage with Glenn as much as you can. Alright, here we go. Alright, so there goes the Imperil. Alright, so I'm going to wait on Glenn to attack. Make sure that we get the Imperils up. Alright, there we go. I'm going to switch over to Aerith right here. I'm going to go back and forth just to make sure that Glenn isn't using too many of his abilities. Alright, here comes Judgment Bolt. Alright, so just want to make sure that we have the magic attack break right here. I'm going to use Stardust Ray as a little bit late right there, not going to lie. Should have used Stardust Ray before the Frenzied Fang, but it is a bit tough to sometimes do these live. Alright, so here comes Tidal Wave. There goes the Ramuh right there. Alright, and we are going to, it looks like, take the next Judgment Bolt right here. So just barely missed that hit on Glenn right there. Alright, but he will survive. We'll counter that with Aerith using Curaga. Alright, and then we're going to basically take that Imperil back up and go full blown on the damage right here. Or straight into the Sigil Break, whatever you guys need to do. Alright, looks like I might be able to get an extra attack in here with Glenn. We'll see. Ooh, I'm not really sure if I will. I'm gonna try though. I think I can. With Aerith, we'll use Spiritual Harmony. Alright, and the last Sigil Break right here. Boom. Looking super solid. Alright, there's that huge magic attack buff up right there. Just making sure that we keep the physical attack up on the entire team. Alright, and we're basically pretty good here on the Leviathan summon, about to have it fully charged. Okay, here we go. Getting really close right here. Gonna probably interrupt this, use all 3 attacks, as much damage as we can. Alright, and then just race the race until the very end right here. Alright, so we have a decent amount of chunk, but we are going to take Leviathan at full 1.25% boost right here. Alright, so looking pretty solid. Imperil is at 2 tiers. Alright, so I'm going to jump to red, make sure that he gets off that next Imperil. Aerith is going to use Spiritual Harmony, and Glenn is just going to essentially do as much damage here as humanly possible to make sure that we can kill this dude right before the end, but it does look like it's going to be pretty on the line, guys. Alright. Okay, so just making sure that his Imperil is constantly up, the physical attack buff is constantly up, and just relying on Glenn to do as much damage here as we can. The lightning bar is full. He will cast Pronouncement right there. That is the sign that if he hits you with the next Judgment Bolt, you will for sure KO. Alright, so we just need one more hit here from Glenn. Alright, and this should be it right here. And that should be the EX1 fight. There you guys have it. This one is definitely a lot more lenient than the EX2 fight, which is really hard. I'm not sure that it's... I don't think it's the hardest of the summon EX2s that have come out. I still think to this day that the Bahamut EX2 was the hardest one upon drop. This fight right here, if you have the right equipment, it's not too mechanic heavy. So the phases and everything you're going through in this fight, and as you guys saw, I was slightly off in my main phase kind of overview at the beginning of the video, but essentially he doesn't do the Judgment Bolt 3 times as we saw, but he more or less goes through those sigil phases. He goes through the AoE lightning phase, the single target lightning phase, the thunder lance, and then the storm call where he summons the sparks, and then he goes through that essentially 3 times. So you're going to have 3 sigil phases until he goes into pronouncement, starts basically raising his limit bar to max. And as far as I fought in an EX2, it's exactly the same. So that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that it was helpful, and I hope that you guys get your EX1 and EX2 clears. Like I said, if you guys have any questions about the teams that I showed at the beginning of this video, don't hesitate to ask. I'm happy to help you guys. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis content. I wish you guys the best of luck out there. Hope you all have a wonderful night. Take care, and peace.